Hey, Taco here for another pilot debrief. And what I'm going to be doing is talking about my recent flight, my third flight actually, in my Iris Infinity paramotor. As the video starts, you can see that I'm getting ready to go. I'm set up. I've already run my motor up. I've checked my lines and everything, and I'm ready to get going. And I left the camera down here at an angle. First of all, if you heard the original video, you hear me hoofing and hollering about getting the glider over my head. And I left the camera angle down to where you could see my shadow on the ground. It's not really important you see me running, but so you can see the shadow on the ground for a little bit and see me actually lifting off. The first thing you see is me going almost directly across the runway to my right. And I had checked for clearance before I took off. I got a radio. Now, here's the interesting thing. This development across the road, they really don't want us flying on that side of the runway and over that development. The traffic pattern for Hartsville is if you're going on 03, it's to the right. If you're going on 21, it's to the left, because they don't want us over that neighborhood. It's just a courtesy to the people that live across the road from the airport. So when I took off, I immediately began a right turn because of torque. And the first thing you saw was me kind of let off. There's a nuclear plant. You saw me let off the gas a little bit and kind of start to sink. The paramotor surged forward, and it started to sink a little bit as I tried to reduce some of the tendency for that torque twist. And now I'm just trying to kind of head steadily down over the runway itself. A lot of the camera turns you see aren't me turning, but me changing how the 360 camera was facing. So I'm not actually doing all those turns. There's that BGD Magic Motor Wing. Love the look of that thing. So there's the neighborhood and stuff that they don't really kind of want us flying over. So that's why I'm on that side of the runway, trying to keep to the left. This was a challenge. I had gloves in both pockets, and I took the glove out from my right hand and was able to get it on one-handed. And then I looked over at my left hand like, oh, crap. The throttle is strapped to my left hand. So I would have to stow the brake, unstrap the throttle, put my glove on my hand, and then put the throttle back on my hand and then get my brake. And I decided, you know what, instead of doing all that, it's my third flight. I don't want to be that distracted. So what I'm going to do is just leave my left hand out there to be cold. And I forgot, Dimitri's Iris Infinities all come with a throttle with cruise control on it. And so I forgot about the cruise control. I could have used that. Now what you see here, all this thrashing back and forth and bumping up and down, I didn't realize how bumpy the air was today. And when I took off, it was maybe 4 miles per hour. And so when I took off, at ground level, it wasn't bad. But once I was above the tree line, immediately I was like, just get me back on the ground. It was really bumpy. So here I am starting my left turn. I'm going to go out over this that kind of orange area where they're digging up some stuff. There's bulldozers out there and such. You don't get to see as good on the 360 camera as I did flying directly over it. But there's some bulldozers and stuff down there actually doing some work. This was on Martin Luther King Day. So I was off, but a lot of people still had to go to work. So the bulldozers were kind of fun to see going about their little business as I flew over. So that was kind of neat. But it's so bumpy. I actually got to about 42 miles per hour. And this is, let's see, in front of me, I think is Lakeview Boulevard. On the other side of that, orange stuff is Lakeview Boulevard. So I actually got up to like 42 miles an hour going to my north with my trims in. So that's like the slower version. I should have put my trims out and, to see what I could get up to going northbound. but I'm just kind of scanning the camera around, looking at different neighborhoods. The Insta360 is really neat that it has a stabilizer on it. It has an accelerometer or whatever you call it, so it kind of tries to stabilize the picture for you. So you see the Insta360 is mounted to my swing arm, so you see me bouncing around and stuff. The land looks pretty stable, but then you see me bouncing around as the Insta360 is bounced around. So you really kind of get a good view of what it looks like, and what it probably feels like to be in the seat, because I'm bouncing around so much, even though the land below me is kind of stable. I'm glad that it does that. Otherwise, it would be as useless as my GoPro video on my helmet. The GoPro's okay on my helmet, but I have to look around so much, the video gets really shaky. There's that big patch. There's one of my engine out locations if I need it. There's really nothing down there. It would be a hell of a hike out. There's supposed to be a housing development down there. I think I've told y'all that in video number 2. There was supposed to be a housing development down there, but then during the housing market crash, 2008, the land just kind of sat there and they never did anything with it. So this is my first video from the Insta360 doing it horizontally. I actually like paramotor videos vertically on the Insta360 because you see so much more of like the pilot and the what I'm doing with my hands, and I can get up there with the glider. But this one for YouTube, I made sure it was I did horizontal video. So I'll post a few more both ways, so you get to see my face really close up. Taking a gander at my lines there, and now I'm about ready to start my turn back around to the airport. I'm halfway through the video. I'm about ready to start my turn. Now remember, I've been going about 42 miles an hour according to Gaggle, and this was my second flight with Gaggle, my third flight total, my second flight with Gaggle. So I'm just looking around. That is the intersection. That T intersection on the left-hand side is old. No, that's not Old Camden. Where is that? Okay, I'm kind of confused where I am right now. I don't know a T intersection. Okay, well, never mind that. Not sure where I am. Looking here on the video, I do know where that piece of land is, but I'm not sure where I am. Just looking at the video. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just about to get turned around. Trailer park over there. Power line cuts. So I'm about to get turned around and go back to the airport. Now, when I turn around, it's really funny because I'm going like 9 miles an hour at this point. And when I look down at one point, I think I'm 1,300 feet at this point. I think my highest for this flight was like 1,400 feet. So I'm starting to come down. I'm starting my descent. And when I looked down at one point, thought I was flying backwards. And so I really kind of got concerned, like, wait a minute, I'm not even moving. How am I going to get back to the airport? So I considered doing my trims out, but I was coming down, and the more I came down, the more I was able to get kind of go a little bit faster. So I should have let my trims out, but again, I'm still pretty new to this, and I really didn't want to mess with the trims too much. You see my left hand is grabbing the toggle on the bottom, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it for a while. Somewhere along in here, I switched hand positions. I had a feeling my brakes were too long. You might see it right here, depending on what we can see. I had a feeling my brakes were too long. They just felt mushy, like they weren't even effective until I got them to down around shoulder level. And so I switched hand positions. So what I did was I put my hand through my throttle. There's my airport. I can't wait to get back there at this point. I put my hand through the toggle loop and then grabbed onto the toggle by sort of the top near where the rope is. So the toggle, the bottom part you would normally hold on to is around behind my hand. My hand's up through the loop and then holding on to the top very close to where the cord is. where it attaches to the brake line. So that gave me an extra like 3-4 inches of pull on my brakes. And I found when I landed that it worked so much better. So probably I need to shorten my brake lines by like a couple of inches. Not there yet. I'm going to give it a couple more test flights and see how I feel with my hands at that position. Especially on some days where I have no wind. So you see how long it's taken. It's taken as long to get onto final and get back to the airport as the whole rest of my flight was. So I'm just creeping along, which kind of made it fun. Once I realized I was going to make the airport, it kind of made it fun to go so slow, because then I could really kind of look down and see what was around me. Nobody hollered up at me, but it was like 40 degrees outside, so there weren't a whole lot of people just hanging around outside. Most everybody was either in their cars or in their houses. I can't wait to a spring day or a summer day where I really get to see, oh, there it is. See how my hand's up through the loop, and then with the strap back around my hand. I'm just kind of resting my hand on the risers. I'm not pulling on the risers. I'm just resting my hand on them. So there's the trailer park below me, and then there's the airport right out in front of me. And it still looks like I'm just creeping along. So slow. And somebody's already said, put your trims out. And I was like, okay, I'll put the trims out next time I have a situation like this. Just got to remember to put the trims in when I get close to the airfield. And here I am flying I call it my 747 landing, because I'm coming in, kind of low and slow. I should have been up higher. I thought this would have been a good glide slope if I didn't have any wind. If I was coming in at 20 miles an hour, I think this would have been a better glide slope. But coming in at 9 miles an hour, I could almost like sprint that fast, probably. Not with a paramotor on my back, but I could almost sprint that fast. So I'm coming in and I'm coming down, but I'm coming down a little bit faster vertically than I think I should. See, how close I am to those trailers. If my engine quit at this point, I might not be able to make it past that tree line into the field. So I might have to divert left or right and find a clear open space. So at this point, I should have been higher just because of the wind facing me. Again, if there was no wind and I was doing 20 miles an hour, I think I still would have been okay. But if my engine had quit at this point, I think I would have been maybe in some trouble with those trees, but I could have broke left or broke right. Okay, so now I'm kind of lined up on the grass area, and I'm realizing again, because of the wind, wait a minute, I'm going to land way short of my intended landing spot. So I've got the runway in sight, and again, a lot of this movement back and forth is me changing the camera angle, not me doing turns back and forth. So I stuck my foot out. I'm like, oh, I need to be over there, and realized I'm drifting either left or right, depending on what the wind's doing. I don't want to be so close to the taxiway. I don't want to land on the taxiway. There's nobody coming in behind me. I'm listening to the radio. I'm going to scooch over this first one. I'd really intended to land a lot farther down the grass strip than I did. So I'm going to scooch over this one. And, okay, hey, look, I'm doing pretty good. I'm right in the middle of the grass strip. And it's starting to blow me to the left, I believe. And at this point, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to land way short. And at the last second, I looked corrected just a little bit. I didn't want to land on the taxiway light. And then just beautiful. Landed short, so it wasn't that great. But when you can land and take 2 steps and then turn around and drop your chute, or drop your glider, I should say, I feel like that's a pretty good landing. That's a landing worth calling a good one. I didn't land on my butt. I didn't flop over on my face. I didn't turtle. To me, I thought it was a pretty good landing. So some of the stuff I want to work on next, I want to, first of all, I got to find a good day with not a lot of wind. So I want to work on doing some more touch and goes and doing some spot landings. I've really got to get better at judging my glide slope. I've got to get better at landing where I want to land instead of where I let the paramotor take me. I got to fly it instead of letting it fly me. So that's my next thing. So thanks for watching my pilot debrief. And remember,